Hi everyone, Trish here from Dish Kitty Studio, and welcome back to my channel. This is my weekly dish video. I think it might be number 58. I think it's 58 anyway. So I have a quick little project that I'm going to work on here. I've got a beer festival coming up this weekend. I'm going with a girlfriend, and it's here in Michigan, and it is outdoors, and it is in February. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a scarf for my girlfriend. Let me show you. This one's mine. This is my scarf that I've worn for many, many years. You can see I have all these brewery pins and patches on it. What I do is I cut these fringe at the bottom, and then I put pretzels on them so that we can cleanse our palates in between beer samples. So since this is my girlfriend's first time, I am going to make a scarf for her, and I thought I'd show you guys how I do it. Hers is a little bit, it's not as wide, it's more narrow than mine. And it's kind of wonky because it's cut, you can see it's cut sort of at an angle here. One end is wider than the other, which really won't matter that much. What I'm going to do right now, the first thing I'm going to do is I just folded it in half and I lined up the two ends. Then I'm just going to take my scissors. I don't try to be real precise here, and I just kind of cut some fringe into it. They don't have to be super long, and they don't have to be all exactly the same. It really doesn't make a big difference at the end of the day. So I just cut these here. Okay, so once we've got those cut, the next thing we do is, well, the first thing I want to do actually is I did go ahead and save. I have some pins that I have duplicates of, so I wanted to go ahead and at least get a start for her. She'll be able to collect some more while we're there. This one is one I actually made. I have a pair of matching earrings I made too, so it's just a can top, and then I just put a pin back on the back of it. So I'm going to go ahead and stick these on so that she'll have at least a start. Okay, so now she's got some pins going, and the next step is I'm just going to go ahead and start putting pretzels on. So what I typically do is, since this is fleece, these will stretch out really nicely. That's why they don't need to be very long. And I just usually stick about 2 on each piece of fringe. Like this, just stick them through, and then I just tie these 2 into a knot. And again, this is very stretchy, so even though the fringe isn't that short, there's plenty of room. So then all you have to do when you want to use this scarf again for another festival is you untie the knots and wash it, run it through the washing machine, and then go ahead and do the same thing. You just put your pretzels back on and tie these knots again. So people get crazy at these festivals, and sometimes they'll wear, I've seen people with like triangular shaped like plastic, like a lanyard with a triangular shaped piece of plastic, and then they'll have like a slice of pizza in there. Like, people are always coming up with crazy ways to get snacks onto some sort of thing to wear. But pretzels are by far the most popular, because they cleanse your palate between beer samples. So what I'll do is I'll just keep putting these on until this thing is full, and then I fold up the whole scarf and I'll just put it into a plastic bag like this, and then I stick them in my bag for the festival. Oh, and let me show you what I do, because right here I'm going to have 3 and not 2, so I'll show you how I tie those together. What I typically do is I just tie 3 pieces together. So I'll put 2 here, 2 here, and then 2 on this last one. And then what I do is I'll usually just tie these 2 together. So these are the 2 on the end. Just tie those in a knot. And then I take the third one, stretch this end out, and I just tie it to this third side. So I just kind of like hook it together into a little clump here. But that works perfectly. So there's one end done, and I'm gonna go ahead and put pretzels on the other end, and then I'll be back to show you what it looks like when it's done. All right, I'm back. I've got pretzels on all of the fringe, and the scarf is completely done. I think the only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move these pins so they're closer to the bottom, because this is where you'll really be able to see them. So that's the only thing I'm going to do. Otherwise, this thing's done. I still have to put pretzels on my scarf, but that will only take a few minutes, and I hope you enjoyed watching. Okay, one other thing I wanted to do in this week's video is fill up my brand new fountain pen. So you might remember from last week's video that I wrote a letter hoping to win a gift card from Goulet Pens, and the letter was about how I had a Lamy Joy and I lost it, and I was very upset because I loved it so much. And what do you know, yesterday morning I woke up and my friend Sherry had seen my video, read my letter, and I did not win the gift card, by the way, from Goulet Pens. Some other lucky person won it. But Sherry took pity on me, and she ordered me a brand new Lamy Joy. So she left this on my doorstep yesterday morning, which was so sweet, and I'm so excited. I have not even inked it up yet. She even got it with the converter, which is amazing because, of course, I had a converter with my Lamy Joy, but it's in the pen, which is missing in action. And of course, as I said last week, I'm quite sure that now that I have a brand new pen, my old one is going to turn up any second now. But I thought I would go ahead and fill up this pen on camera while I tell you about how excited I am to have my pen back. So I'm going to fill it with, this is Noodler's Heart of Darkness. This is a black ink. It is one of my favorites. I know a lot of people, it is, I would say, water resistant. It's close to waterproof, but it's not quite there. It does smear a little bit with water, but not much. Enough that I like it because it lets me kind of add shading and stuff like that to my drawings, you know, so I add watercolor and then the black will run a little bit too. So I'm going to do this the down and dirty way and just stick this baby in here and then turn the plunger to fill it up. So it did come with a cartridge with blue ink, but of course I always use this pen for, this was my favorite sketching pen, and I always sketch with black ink. So there we go. I just turned it, got it nice and full. Just going to wipe the sides of it off here so I don't get the inside of my pen all mucked up. And then I am going to load this baby up. I'm so excited to have this pen back. You have no idea. I have searched everywhere looking for it, and it is literally nowhere to be found. So I'm just going to turn that a little bit, try to kind of get it flowing. And then I'm going to stick this back on. So if you're not familiar, wait a minute, I don't think I have it all the way in. If you're not familiar with the Lamy Joy, it's a stub nib, which means it's a little bit wider. So it gives you a little bit thicker line, which I enjoy. I don't think most people tend to sketch, I think, with a fine nib, but I really enjoy a stub nib. So let me show you what that looks like up close. It's a little bit, I mean, it doesn't look like it's a wide nib, but compared to other pens, it is considered a stub nib. Here's the cartridge that it came with blue ink in it. And one of the things I love about this pen too is it's a little bit longer and it's got like this, it kind of comes to a point. I don't know, just stylistically, I enjoy that. Let me grab my sketchbook here and I will get this thing going. And then we can kind of take a look at how it writes. It's such a great pen. I really, really love it. I just got the, in my first Lamy All-Star, the Vibrant Pink I got for Christmas. And it's also gorgeous. That was only my second Lamy. This was my first and that was my second. I don't have a ton of fountain pens. I have a couple of Vanishing Points. One of them is vintage from the 80s. That was a gift from my father-in-law. It's beautiful. I think I do have, and that's quite an expensive pen. I want to say probably, maybe like at the time it was probably about $120 or so back in the 80s. So you can see how nicely that writes. One of the things I love about this pen too is that you can write with the stub nib this way and get these bolder lines, but if you turn the pen upside down and write from the other side of the nib, look at the difference. Look at the size difference in those lines. So you really can get these wider lines and these thinner, more delicate lines with the same pen. I also want to show you, this, like I said, is Noodler's Heart of Darkness. Let's try adding a little bit of water and I'll show you what I mean by the water resistance. It really doesn't move a whole lot. I find when I use it to ink my watercolor drawings, now see it's moving a lot right now, maybe because it's still really wet. I don't usually have that much problem with it. Maybe if I let it dry a little bit and then come back and add a little water. I don't know, that's interesting. That's more like what I typically see. You can see it's just kind of, you're getting a little bit of a gray shadow. I know a lot of people really like carbon black, but I enjoy this Heart of Darkness. Plus I have like the giant, you know, huge bottle. But it's my favorite black ink for sure. Now, like I said,